Good morning. Everybody wake up. It's like a classroom. Good morning. I am Lucretzia Jamison. I am the Executive Director of Youth Job Center. And I want to welcome you guys to our 2025 panel discussion. Each year, we want to kind of focus on the work of youth workforce, why we do it, how we do it, and who we do it with. Last year, we really focused on employers and how we employ our young people, the importance of finding ways to get our young people the experiences that they need. But I felt that this year, in the light of our government issues and everything else that's going on, it's important to understand how we collaborate with others in order to make our workforce system successful. This year, our workforce conversation is all about a workforce development in Chicago and how we use collaboration to make us successful. What I want you guys to think about today, you will be able to ask questions. Kind of like some of the things that you guys have problems with, you have issues with trying to get success out of your organizations or your jobs in your organizations, and how you use other resources in order to braid it and make it successful. Today we have a few colleagues of mine that I have either worked with, worked for currently, or have done a lot of partnership in order to make my job much better. We are going to start with their bios, and then after that, we will then move towards them introducing themselves individually and asking a few questions. Our first panelist is Kenyon Douglass. She is the Executive Director of Workforce Equity Initiatives for City Colleges of Chicago. She serves at Kenny King College, Dawson Technical Institute. With a deep commitment to workforce development and equity, Kenyon leads initiatives that provide underrepresented individuals with access to high quality training, career pathways, and economic opportunities in construction and the skilled trades industries. As a licensed clinical professional counselor, Kenyon brings a holistic approach to workforce development, ensuring that participants receive not only technical skills training, but also support services needed to overcome barriers to employment. Her leadership fosters partnerships with industry, stakeholders, community organizations, and employers to create sustainable career opportunities for students. Kenyon, with a background in education, counseling, and workforce development, Kenyon is dedicated to empowering individuals and strengthening communities through equitable access to career-focused education and training. Welcome, Kenyon Douglass. Next, we have Awilda González. She is the Director of Chicagoland WIOA Programs and National ABLE Network. Awilda is a dynamic workforce development professional with extensive experience across WIOA programs, mental health, education, and workforce initiatives for both adults and youth populations. She played a pivotal role in developing the programs that uplift marginalized populations and foster collaborative partnerships. As the director of Chicagoland WIOA programs at National ABLE Network, Awilda oversees multiple American job centers with delegate agencies ensuring high quality service delivery while maintaining compliance with local, state, and federal regulations. With a master's in higher education leadership and a background in mental health, education, and workforce programs, she specializes in helping job seekers, employers, and community partners thrive. Awilda has also published is a published writer and content creator, passionate about women's empowerment and mentorship. Above all, she cherishes her roles as Mima to her grandsons and mother to her four incredible adults. Let's welcome Awilda. A little bit out of order, I did this. It's the last minute. Hold on one second. Let's go back. We have Cierra Morris. She's a Workforce Equity Initiatives Director for Triton College. Since 2021, August 2021, Cierra Morris has been a dedicated leader in workforce development, driving equity and opportunity through education and training. As Director of Workforce Equity Initiatives, WEI, at Rock Valley College, Sierra played a pivotal role in expanding access to career pathways for underserved populations. She's represented at the Illinois Manufacturing Workforce Ecosystem Conference and at the WEI Symposium since 2022. The impact of Sierra's initiatives was highlighted by the American Association of Community Colleges, further cementing her reputation as a transformative leader in workforce development. In April 2024, Sierra was honored with the Outstanding Staff Award, Eagle Award of Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And in July 2024, Sierra transitioned to Triton College, where she continues to drive workforce equity as the director of the Workforce Equity Initiative. Welcome, Sierra. Last but not least, we have Paul Thompson, and he is the Chief Economic Empowerment Officer for the YWCA Metropolitan Chicago. Paul Thompson um, oversees workforce, entrepreneurship, housing programs, and Streetwise magazine. Oh my God, that is so crazy. I know this is outside of the bio, but if you are from Chicago or any major city, Streetwise is so important. So thank you for that. That is great. Love it. Previously, he served as the CEO of Purpose Workforce Solutions, a staffing firm dedicated to opportunity youth from underserved Chicago neighborhoods. He has also held leadership roles at city colleges of Chicago, including executive director of apprenticeship and workforce solutions and dean of business and professional services. With over 30 years of experience across multiple sectors, Paul serves on various boards, including the Illinois Workforce Innovation Board and Pullman Tech Workshop, where he is president. He holds an MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business and a Bachelor's of Science in Industrial Engineering from Western Michigan University. He is also a fellow of both Civic Leadership Academy and the Chicagoland Workforce Leadership Academy. Let's welcome Paul Thompson. All of their bios are super impressive. I think I'm gonna stick them all in mine, and I'm just kidding. We're gonna get started with our questions so that they can kind of help you guys understand what we do and how we do it. First of all, I want to thank YJC team for being here. Some of our board members are in the house. Our volunteers are here. We have staff from other opportunities in KKC and everywhere else. We have our workforce professionals that started in Evanston. Now he's doing way more, Nathan. So we got a bunch of people here that can really have this conversation with us. And don't be afraid to ask questions once we're done. The first question is, please share your what you're responsible in your field of work right now, and a little bit about what you do on a daily basis. We'll start with Kenyon. Is your mic on? Let's see. It's a little button.
Good morning, everyone. I immediately thought when you posed the question is that what do? I feel like I change lives. But then there's those technical things that I do. I manage a grant. I make sure that our retention is taken care of, that we have career partnerships and things like that. But for the most part, if we looked at it just from not what I get paid to do, but what we do is we're changing the lives of people. We're getting paid to change the lives of people. So it's really about what type of interactions we choose to have and how do we decide to show up every day. If there's nothing pressing, do I not do anything, or do I figure out how to make more connections and partnerships and communicate with students to see what are those other needs that we don't see behind the surface? So for me, yes, I manage a grant, which could probably pull my hair out and turn my hair gray. Hence why I dyed it. But We're changing lives, and workforce is something that evolves, and whatever trends are popular, those are the things that we want to make sure that we keep our students abreast of. Career options that lead to longevity and not something that is a dead end. So I would say I transform lives.
Thanks, Kenyon. I think you went in my head and got a little bit of my answers. I'm just crying, but just to piggyback a few, I think just transforming lives. But when we talked more so into that educating and also empowering, individuals and also breaking generational curses. So I think that all ties into that transformation of those lives. So really focusing on the quality of the individual, what they want, meeting them where they are, and helping them get to where they want to go. So I think that's pretty much in a nutshell what I do every day is challenging, different people from walks in life have different needs and different agendas, but making sure that we're there to service any student, no matter where they come from, no matter where they're going. So that's pretty much what I do.
These ladies took my answer too. But on a day-to-day basis, I would say, transforming lives, making sure that people have the opportunity and have equitable jobs, right? And to be able to have opportunities for training that other people wouldn't have opportunities for, in order for them to have the independence to be able to move forward and be able to, take care of their families and their loved ones, right? And feel like they have a purpose and that they haven't been given before, right? That they haven't been given the opportunity before for XYZ reasons that we have in our society and things like that, right? So in a nutshell, pretty much empowering people and giving them what they, the tools that they need to be able to move forward on a technical way, managing grants, right? Managing programs and making sure that all 4 centers are running smoothly and that all 4 centers have a positive atmosphere, right? We know that a lot of people that come through our programs have had trauma before, and so making sure that our centers are a place that are welcoming for everybody.
So I'm going to piggyback on a familiar theme here. Meeting people where they are is so important. I think we have a lot of people who come to us with trauma, with barriers to employment, be it transportation, childcare, just not a whole understanding of what work really is all about. And really just working with those individuals to get them in a position where they can go to work, they can contribute, and they can economically benefit from those contributions that they make. So, we are an operator of a lot of WIOA grants and some city grants and a few other grants. We probably operate 20 grants. And we lost our director back in November, so I'm getting intimately familiar with all of the inner workings of our workforce operation, but a lot of it is, the administrative, making sure that, the reports are done, the audits are attended to, and all of the other requirements to operate the grants. But also, constantly working with the staff to see, are there other ways that we can empower the people we serve to be more successful? What do they need? What does it take to get them there? And so really just trying to remove those barriers and make sure that people have a chance to be successful.
Love that. Cool. YJC, do not take this back. They're like, yeah, I got to do an audit right now. But, on a day-to-day basis, our work is really important because it affects others every day. It's just like education. It's just like providing child care. We are providing adult care and those who are in need of workforce. So I think it's truly important to really understand that, as they said, we are the caregivers of workforce. We have to put a bunch of teams together. We have to figure it out every day. We have to figure out how to pay for it. They have to figure out how to move money around, to figure out how to make the program successful, how to, when you lose money,
how to make the program successful when your budgets are being reduced. So it's a lot in the daily operations. And with all of that, every person that comes to us, we are responsible for making them feel good on some of the worst days of their lives, being able to take care of their children without the proper resources, to be able to give them a job when they actually feel that they're not qualified, and to get them from a place that may be in darkness to success. So it's a lot that everyone has to do on a daily basis that we don't take for granted. The next question is, well, we can't do it all. Disconnected youth as individuals between the age of 14 and 24 who are low income, either homeless, in foster care, involved in juvenile justice systems, unemployed, or not enrolled in a school or at risk of dropping out of an educational institution is our passion. How do you make it work with your org only addressing one or a few risk factors? What risk factor have you come in contact with, and how do you make it work with all of the challenges or barriers that they may have when they come to you? Anyone can start. Like they're like, oh.
When you said we can't do it all, in my head, I was like, but yes, I can. But no, I can't. I thought about, but I can do something. So students walk in our buildings, and they don't just walk in on day one as a student. They walk in with all of the other stuff that we don't see. The child care issue, the family dynamic of the home, caring for a sick parent or something like that, or involved with the justice system. We try to provide supports that are barrier reductive services. So some of the things that could prevent them from coming, I couldn't get there. If it's transportation, childcare resources, food while they're on campus. So we're giving them meal vouchers. So you can't say you were hungry. You can't say you couldn't get here. So if you can come here within these 8 hours to try to, and they're here 8 hours. They work longer than me. They're at school longer than I am.
Yeah.
That we try to lighten their load just a little bit, to let them know that we see you. We can't change everything because we don't have that magic wand. So when we're getting budget cuts and things like that, we have a $1 million grant. We've been renewed for the last 6 years. But this year, something different happened. The city colleges said, oh, we want indirect costs, so we're going to take 10%. So I'm really only working with $900,000, but I'm still going to do the same. So that was another issue. It had nothing to do with the student, but I still want to provide that quality service to the student. And then our tuition doubled. So that means that's less extra money in the pot to provide those barrier reductive supportive services. So I had to figure out, how can I still do what I need to do and support our students, because I don't want to be that other entity or supportive program that let them down, or they stopped and started. So I decided to cut back on what I could provide to the programs and make sure I give more to the students, and let the institution who said that they were taking an indirect cost, then you're going to turn around and give it back to us for material and supplies. So I couldn't provide that. So it's like, they were problem solving and trying to just figure it out. But the last thing that I ever want to do is shortchange the students who are coming in with all of this other stuff. So I just want to make their day a lot easier. Even if the kid isn't in our program, when I walk in and the student's in the cafeteria and he looks hungry, I was like, have you eaten yet? And the cafeteria is there. And he's like, no. I was like, come upstairs and I'll give him a meal voucher. And then that spread like wildfire. So they're coming in like ants, and stuff. That lady gave us a meal voucher, but some of the things I just sit back and figure out, if it hasn't been done, it doesn't mean that it can't be. So I put monies aside. We have a cafeteria. It's through FUTA. And I was like, well, what if I had an open PO where I said I wanted to use $50,000 of funds so our students can get access to the cafeteria? So they printed me out these meal vouchers.
Yeah.
So what I created, they're duplicating around the district now. So the main campus is doing that. But it's just for me to make sure that our students who are there for breakfast, lunch, and even dinner could have something to eat while they're there. So maybe we can't do it all, but I go back to what I said earlier. At least we can do something.
Exactly. Thank you.
You're right, we can't do it all, right? But one of the really important things is the collaborations that we have We have to understand where our organizational weaknesses are and understand what other organizations can help us with,
Yes.
right? That's really important. And I think that's what's important about this panel is the collaborations that we have, right? As an organization, we can't service every single need, but we need to partner with the right partner to be able to serve, and for childcare, right? Or to be able to help with groceries and things like that. For us, our program's a little bit different because we have WIOA, so we also have supportive services. But we have to be also creative with those support services. It's not just about a bus card or a gas card, right? One of the things that I tell my staff is like, okay, we have to be creative with that. Like, what is it that our adults or youth need, right? Is it clothing for an interview, right? Is it groceries, right? Because if you don't have your basic needs met, you can't even think about a job, right? Is it helping with rent, behind rent, a bill that hasn't been paid, right? So those are all things that we can use our supportive services for, and we have to get out of this mentality that it's only about a bus card or it's only about a gas card, because it's not only about that. And then let's not even talk about economy, right? Because what we used to give before was like one bus card or one gas card, and that's not even enough anymore, right? So it's like looking at what we have available and looking at what's going on at the moment, and be able to empower and be able to like lift some of those life challenges that they're already, having and things like that, and also meeting people where they're at, right?
Yeah.
That's really important. Sometimes we have an expectation of people that they have to do X, Y, Z because that's how we did it, or that's because somebody else has done it that way. But we have to meet people where they're at, right? And maybe they're not ready for the ultimate job, right? But then let's meet them where they're at and find, what the solution is, right? So I think collaborations and just like looking at what's going on, in our economy right now is like really, really important in order to kind of support people, right? Because right now they're really kind of lost. They're like, what's going to happen? Where are the jobs? Are there going to be jobs, right? So these are all things that we need to really look at and make sure that we have the right people in place and that we're looking at what's going on.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
I think too, also in my philosophy is being intentional with everything that we do. That's the way I pitch it to my leadership and my board, just being intentional with everything we do. If we want students to engage more, we have to be more intentional with our strategies, with our policies, with our procedures. And with being intentional, that means actually going and talk to the source and getting that information from. I feel like a lot of times, especially us in leadership, we have our ideas of what we feel like people need based off our own experiences or what we do, but we don't ever go and talk to the actual individual to see exactly what it is that they need, where we can meet them at. Because if we go there, that helps us have a more proactive approach to when we are enforcing policies, when we're enforcing these procedures and things like that. For example, financial aid right now is a big thing that we also know that CNA now, you can use financial aid to pay for CNA program. So one of the things I do is I'm very intentional with making sure that program fits that student and we can save as many finances as we can. So for financial aid and, for CNA programs, for example, they have to do a 2-step TB test. They have to do a background check. They have to do a work physical, and none of this is required in the tuition at all. All of this is prior to before they even step into this classroom. So we're talking about at least every student, regardless of where they come from, regardless of what race they are, every student is $15 out of pocket before they even step into that classroom. So how can we be more intentional? Could we as an institution go build relationships with physicians in immediate care? Could we go get scrubs and pay for them ourselves? And could we put that all into the tuition because financial aid will pay for that? And that removes those barriers. So being really intentional with doing those things, because that helps students out a lot. Now they don't have to worry about where they're going to get those scrubs from. Now they don't have to worry about how they're going to pay for that background check, how they're going to do this, because it's already in that tuition and it's built. So really, really being intentional, now we can focus on the resources. That frees up the funds for the resources. So instead of us paying money for that, now we can look at $20,000 in transportation. Now we can look at $20,000 for food security and things like that. But it makes us be intentional with allocating where those funds go. So I think also having the data to support that as well. even if you have 80%, students that complete, let's focus on the students who's not completing for me, and to see why aren't they able to complete, what limited them to that. And then let's focus on that data to see how we can be more intentional to closing that gap a little bit more.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just would add two important points. And one, I think as an organization, you have to understand what is the range of services and a range of situations you can support. Like you said, we can't do everything. There are some people that we're not prepared to serve. And so we develop relationships and a strong referral partnerships so we can refer individuals who perhaps don't fit within our model to get services elsewhere. And then the other piece is about disclosure. Oftentimes job seekers have issues and barriers that they aren't willing to disclose. They don't come to the table and say, hey, I'm not safe in my home, or I don't have a home, or, all of these things that complicate serving these individuals. And so we try really hard to create an environment where people feel comfortable, where we can build rapport, we're paying attention to trauma triggering, factors like, proximity to exits and visibility and those kinds of things that, help people feel more comfortable and safe so they can be in a place where they can disclose. Because it's very important that we sort of understand, what are the needs and how can we start to eliminate these barriers, or else anything we do in terms of providing employment services is not going to stick. It's not going to last very long.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really interesting. Recently, we had a young lady who was Russian come to YJC, and she, rang the doorbell, and she could not speak English at all, right? And Nadana wasn't there for me to say, go ahead, hold on 1 second. No, but it was one of those situations where I said, how to think on your feet. And that's what nonprofits have to do. I'm like, you know what? Do you have a phone? And I'm giving her where's your phone? And so I was like, text me. And I went to show her the text messaging where you can translate, right? So I'm like, okay, I know I use this phone. So I translated in Russian, use this app right here. And so she was able to read that. And I spent an hour with her to tell her, no, we don't speak. We're bilingual, but we are limited. We can't do it all, right? So I make sure that we have Spanish-speaking staff on my team, but I don't have Russian, or I don't have, Italian. I don't have this. So I said, but I do know. Truman has a workforce center, and they have this, and I'm telling her this is where you can go. So I'm giving her all this information. I call Truman and say, hey, I have a young person. She speaks Russian. She, needs help. She's trying to find a job. She's only been here 3 weeks. They're like, we don't speak Russian. I said, 1 second. I call the workforce center, the Pilsen Workforce Center, said, hey guys, I have a young person. She speaks Russian. She just got here. They're like, we got you. And I said, see what happens? We can't do it all, but the power of partnership, the power of collaboration helps you navigate our young people. Most times, business people, some of you guys in the audience, you are in competition with the person that's like you. That company, you're trying to figure out what they're doing next so you can stay away from, you want to put the secret sauce, put the, KFC, recipe somewhere, and the other person has the other part of the recipe. When you are in nonprofit, you are connecting those recipes all the time, where we're saying, I need you as a nonprofit. I need you to help me. I need you to help me do my work better. So collaboration is very different for us than it is for our for-profit communities. One of the things I want to talk about is your challenges with collaboration. So we know we have to collaborate, but what are your challenges with collaborating with different nonprofits or different entities that help you do your work? Some of you guys are higher ed, some of you all are nonprofits or workforce, some of you are large nonprofits like the YWCA. What are some of the challenges you guys have experienced with trying to build a network of barrier reduction services for your clients and your students?
Challenges. Okay, well, so I think for us, one of the challenges that we might face, and I'm thinking of program wise, right? I think for us, outcomes, yes, we see the person, right? But outcomes is really important, right? For those of us that have WIOA funding, we know, and it is drilled in us from when we start, is like performance, 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 right?
You're triggering some people in the second row.
I know. If my staff were here, they'd be, oh, well, so here we go, talking about performance again. And so I think one of the challenging things when you do have collaborations is understanding what those expectations really are and making sure that you're having conversations, and sometimes maybe even what you feel might be hard conversations, right? About, okay, you're doing great on this thing, but hey, I'm seeing this over here on my report, right? And so having these type of conversations can be sometimes uncomfortable, because at the same time, you're not the person's supervisor, right? Or you're not the person, but you have to make sure that you're having a collective conversation with all the parties to make sure that the end goal is being met while still giving good programming for the person, right? Always remembering that we're dealing with a human being, even though we do have these performance measures, which I hope my funders don't see this. I hate performance measures, but I understand why they're there. Sometimes I just wish we can just help people without having these performance measures, right? And so, but I understand why they're there. And those, we have to remember that in the back end, those things are very, very important to continue to have funding, right? In order for us to be able to continue these programs and continue to serve more people in the communities that continue to need them.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just add that, collaboration takes time, and you have to build relationships and understand, capabilities and how organizations can work together. And at the same time, we have all these pressures to perform and deliver, and we've got people knocking on the door, and we got an audit next week. And, so there's a lot of day-to-day activity, which makes some of this longer term planning and relationship development stuff a little challenging, but we got to do it. And I think, it's difficult, but it's definitely worth it.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Good.
For me, I think it is, we love to meet, and I don't like to meet for the sake of meeting. So I try to make sure that if we meet, it's for a purpose. So when we meet, that we just don't walk out of the room and forget about what we said. And then we come back every quarter and we haven't done what we said we were going to do. So that's when I start to stop those meetings, because I was like, this doesn't meet our needs. So for me, it is trying to make sure that, I think you meant, if we started with the end in mind, what is it that we're setting out to do, and making sure that your stakeholders, there's something that they really need from you so that they can hold up their end of the bargain as well. For me, most of the time it is, are you going to employ our students when they finish? That's the bottom line. And it's like, so how can I keep their interest in us? So how can I let them know, oh, we've updated this. We're no longer OSHA 10, we're OSHA 30. That should be a great incentive, safety, safety, safety. So we're trying to make sure that our employer partners know that our students are not only viable candidates, but the candidates that they would want to keep. If there are advisory board meetings and they like to come because they want to get out of the office, miss me. I don't need that. But it's really, I want to make sure that those people that come, they want to come because they want to get something out of it just as much as I surely do for our students. So it is that reciprocity for the most part. Because sometimes we have meetings and the bottom fall out, and then we meet each other 3 months again and we never mention it. It's like the ex that you got rid of, and then we're talking again, and we're not making any ground. So it's about trying to make sure we make some ground when we have these meetings.
I can say Kenyon and I worked together a while. We were the anti-meeting people. We'd be like, if you're not coming in here to employ anybody, we don't want to talk. Thanks. And I remember one time an employer said, we make sure we have good faith efforts. And I said, oh, we got Bible verses. I said, when the Bible says faith without works is dead. So the next part of that is no good faith. We want to make sure it works, okay? And so that's one of the biggest challenges is being able to help the world understand that our youth, our workforce is not a charity case. They are skilled. We upskilled them. We prepared them. We prepared them better than I was prepared coming out of college. We are making sure they know how to do an interview. Their resume is ready. They know conflict management. They know how to navigate through Trevor, poor Trevor. He's doing 2 jobs right now, but one of his jobs right now is his other duties as assigned is workforce readiness training, where we prepare our young people to actually live in their workspace, how to navigate an argument, how to show up on time, how to, think about conflict, how to brand yourself, how to create that. We didn't have those things in college. So it's kind of a challenge sometimes where they say, oh, that's a nonprofit. That's a charity case. And we're like, no, they're upskilled, they're highly skilled. We've given them credentials versus just experience. And we're putting all this together so that we can present a good product for you and that you're not taking on a goodwill effort, but you're taking on a solution to your labor gap. So that's one of the things that we often have to deal with. And we also have to deal with all the other things, the performance measures and everything else. When nonprofits first started, you do good, got great donors. They take all their money, you send out 5 people, right? Donors started saying, wait, I just gave you $1 million and you would produce 5 people. And so they started doing these performance measures so that they can say, guys, when we give you money, when we give you an opportunity, give them the opportunity, give them the outcome. So I think that is some of the challenges that we have to make it work. Our last question, because we want to leave we're almost at 12. Last question is a little bit concerned with our environment today that I want to ask you guys. And in today's environment, that we have a new administration. And the new administration has proposed some challenges on our workforce, our funding opportunities, and how we work with our DEI community. I know that's kind of a scary word right now. However, I'm going to say it. How do we connect and how do we keep going in the environment when our underrepresented, population, our people that are most in need of funding are at risk of losing that funding? How do you keep your organization, your work, and your passion going in the midst of what's happening in the United States? And I would like everyone to answer that one.
I don't have to go first. Go ahead.
So I'm going to draw on a airline analogy here. Put your oxygen mask on first. We can't support people if we can't stay in business. So we have to be very intentional about what that means. In my organization, we have 3 big divisions. The one that was described with workforce and housing and entrepreneurship is mine. There's another one that has sexual assault and safety, and another 3rd division that has youth and family services that does a lot of work around, daycare and supporting families, et cetera. We are in potentially going to lose some funding in another area of our organization. And the challenge is, we're one big organization. We share space. We have a lot of infrastructure and share costs. And so, we have to be looking down the road that if something happens with one of our pillars, one of our service divisions, it's going to impact the whole organization. So we need to be thinking about what does that look like and what needs to change in order for us to continue to stay in the space and deliver services. And so I've been in dozens of meetings since the first of the year about contingency planning, about trying to figure out where we're at risk, and trying to figure out risk mitigation strategies. And I think we just have to be looking around corners for the next boogeyman that's going to come and sabotage the work that we're doing. We're also gearing up to service government employees that may lose their jobs. So at a time where we're in risk of losing funding, we're also facing a population that is more in need than they've been in the past.
So one of the things for National ABLE, we do mostly all workforce. That's a main. We also have a CSEP program, and then we have a SNAP intermediary, and as well as we have the IT sector, right? So those are all things that are workforce related, and we all know that in the administration, they're looking at WIOA reauthorization and things like that. And I think one of the really important things is to have people in the right spaces. Sometimes that's not my leadership, but the higher leadership. And, we have an amazing CEO, which is Matt Weiss. And he definitely is at those tables in Washington, D.C. and advocating, and also making sure that we are also advocating at our level and being able to, reach out to our those that serve us, right? Those that we have put in power as well, right? And so making sure that we're advocating for those, workforce programs and for the people that we serve. I think one of the also things that we have to remember is that even though this current administration is all about eliminating DEI, I'm not afraid of saying that, we have to remember what our morals are, right? Exactly. And what our missions and our visions are, right? And just because maybe on a website we've had to take something off, it doesn't mean that it changes who we are, and it doesn't change the work that we do. That's still very important and very central to who we are. And just because there's something not said a certain way doesn't mean that we stop doing it.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure how to answer that question, if I'm honest. But I think I have a few points. So for me, kind of as Paul already alluded to, it's taking care of self, putting that oxygen mask on yourself first, but it's turning up the volume of the right voices. And I am very intentional in telling my students that and telling my team that we have bad voices and we have the good ones. So making sure that we turn the volume down to those, because they just consume us and they make us feel defeated, like it's impossible and we can't do this. So turning up the volume to the right voices of people who are intentional, people who are passionate, and people who are not being consumed by the negative, effects of the executive orders. And I think that right now it comes to a point where we've already historically checked boxes. So are we ready to continue to check boxes or check action? And when I say check action, for me, DEI is DEI, but to me it's always been equity and justice versus diversity and inclusion for me, because diversity, as much as we think we control it, if you look around this room, it's diverse with not one action. All it took was for everybody to be here on their own. So it's no really action that we need to do to diversify things. It's already diverse, but what we can do is the equitable part that comes with diversity. How do we make sure that the people who are less, representative, who don't have voices, how do we make sure they have seats at the table? So that's more so the equity part. And for me, that just comes with that compassion, which that second point is also for the inclusion. We can include them and we can have, St. Patrick's Day and, Black History Months and things like that. But what's the justice in that? To just check a box or to actually ask those individuals what they've been through, the struggles and things like that. So for me, I really want to make sure that for me and my staff, our focus is more equity and justice, as it always has been. That has always been our focus. It's never changed. So let's continue to do what we've been doing. Let's not go away from those, justice. Let's not go away from equity. Let's continue to do it, but let's see more ways that we can align our focuses, our initiatives, and our strategies with other people, because there's some corporations and entities who has reversed it and they went back to the other side. But let's focus on the ones who haven't, and how can we align our strategies together, more strength in numbers, to combat and go against the other ones who are saying, a cause for DEI to be non-existent. So for me, I think that's pretty much the biggest thing, aligning our strategies and continuing to have that focus on equity and justice. We have to, and being advocates too, because we can easily be discouraged and not want to wake up and come to work because, we feeling for those students, but if not us, who else? And that's what I encourage all of you all to ask yourself. If not you, who else? Who else would do the work? If we're not here for the panel to do the work, who else would do the work? So it's very meaningful what we're doing. It's very impactful of what we're doing. And I feel like the more strength in numbers, so the more we come together and align our strategies, that we will fight it and we will have strategies and be proactive to prepare for also what's next to come. Because this is in 4 years, but we don't know what it's gonna look like in 8 years. So start doing that right now to prepare for what's to come after these next 4 years and after the next 4 years after that.
Thank you.
Okay, now I could do what they said. Whatever they said, that's what I'll say. But no, what's kind of tricky for myself and Sierra is what we do in our funding. It's called the Workforce Equity Initiative. Our goals are specifically targeted that we have to have 60% African American. But even with that, all of this stuff that's going on, I still come to work without any anxiety or fear. I'm grateful to work at City Colleges, which is an open enrollment, open access, providing quality education to anybody who walks through the door. We're not going to stop doing what we've been accustomed to doing. Now, who funds us and gives us this money? We can shop around to other but other philanthropic organizations that are willing to support us. So I don't think that we're going to stop doing what we're doing. We're predominantly Black institutions, so that's who's going to come through our door, who's going to reap the benefits of our programs. This $1 million, if it gets taken, then we'll have to figure out another way to provide those barrier reduction supportive services. But our training and education and things like that will still remain in place. And I think that's what we have to look at. Yes. The words behind what we do and what we do, we should still continue to do what we do because that's what we've been doing. We can change the narrative. I'm good at changing the narrative. When I write my reports, it can look really bad with these statistics, but when I tell you my narrative in my report, you're not even going to look at that. We don't have a 60% completion rate, So it's about how do we say what we're doing without necessarily saying specifically what they don't want us to do, So that's what we need to be smart enough to know, is to figure out how to continue to remain steadfast in what we're doing. And then figure out those other little nuances, because like she said, in 4 years, it's going to be something else. So let those other people figure out how to do these executive orders and things like that. But within our institution, our leadership has told us we're going to continue to serve. We're going to continue to serve folks who may not get financial aid, and we're going to work with them. And you have to ask, what type of place am I in? And do they share those same values? And I'm grateful for that opportunity, even though after 25 years, I'm going to retire. So, but still, yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. I think one of the key things is understanding your purpose. Understand your purpose of your organization. Understand the purpose of your personal work. I always say I chose this. I chose it. It didn't fall on me. I know a lot of people going nonprofit like, well, it didn't work out in corporate. I didn't fail into non. I actually chose it. I actually chose this work. And you got to be able to remove fear, because it diminishes engagement when you're living in fear. The other thing is that when it was presented, I said, well, if they take this away, we prepare. It's about a third of my funding. It's about 20% of my staff. And then I said, Maria, you got 20% more to raise. And then Colleen, you got this amount to reduce. We will not have the direct services, so we're going to call Kenyon so they can get a training. We're going to go to Triton so they can get a training. We're going to call this agency here. YWCA is going to take care of some child care. And we're going to shift everything to someone else in collaboration. And that's how we do it. We don't live in fear. We don't wake up and say we can't do this anymore. We say, okay, that's about what percentage? All right, so we're going to do this. Maria, you got to do this. I need you to, give me more money in here. And then Colleen, you got to reduce that. Tell Maria she's not sending all that mailing out. That's somebody's job. So we have to adjust and not be in fear of what this has done. And I always say that nonprofits, marginalized people who we've been through, our people have survived slavery. Our people have survived women's suffrage. Our women have, our people have survived immigration, Reaganomics. It's a bunch of stuff that we have survived that we really don't understand, because sometimes millennials and Gen Xers and people who haven't lived through it have not experienced it. If you ever see the board members that are like, seniors, they say, oh, okay, what's going on? Because they've seen it, they survived it, and they lived through it. Our collaborations are important because if all of the wonderful money that comes and that we're able to do all this stuff for our young people goes away, we just figure out who does it. And we say, what? We don't have $8,000 to send them to this private training. But you know what? City College of Chicago has this, and Oakton College has that, and Triton College has this. And it's a third of the cost versus this private opportunity. And so we start to change the way we do things, and that's why we collaborate. The YWCA is going to provide us with some social services and some mental health and some things that they will need there. No, we don't have the uniforms now. We're going to now go to the uniform store and say, look, we need a discount in order to be our vendor. And so we do different things like that. But the way we're focused is really on the opportunity of workforce. Keep focusing on how to help those who need us, because there will always be a need. And the American people will never give up on those who need us. So I thank you guys for this opportunity and discussion. These are wonderful people of mine, and I selected them on purpose because they are powerhouses in what they do. You do not want to mess with Awilda, Kenyon, Paul when they are in the business of everything, because they are going to run you over if you don't run with them, okay? But it's in all good trouble, and I think that's one thing that we're trying to do for our people around the Chicagoland area. We're going to have this time, if you all have any questions or things that you all would like to ask or comments that you may have. Yes. I'm sorry, we need I'm going to give you this mic. Yes. Mic check. Hold on one second.
My name is Marisa Colgate, and I am an Evanston community member. I just want to thank all of you for the work that you do. I'm truly grateful. My question is actually a bit more personal. At the end of the day, we are all human beings, and I wonder what each of you do to take care of yourself so that every morning you are prepared to do what you do, which is moving mountains, I think.
Great question. To take care of yourself. You look at this, even know.
First of all, I want to thank you for that question. And it's coming at a time where this week I was just telling Francesca and some other folks that I was meditating on my week, and it's only Wednesday, and I was already saying, oh my God, I need a vacation, but a vacation where I don't have to do anything, veg out, just be at the beach. Don't call me, and one of those things, right? So what do I do? So I'm gonna tell you what I did yesterday, right? I noticed that my stress was at an all-time high, and there's a lot of stuff going on at work, right? A lot of stuff going on in life, staff that needs you, customers that have life challenges, and everything is very like right now urgency. So I noticed I was at an all-time high stress, and I decided to just meditate with soft music and just not think about anything else, and deep breathing to kind of ground myself, right? And you have to be very conscious that at that moment, that's what you're feeling, that's what you need, right? So as practitioners of this work, we all have to remember that we have to put, our oxygen on first, right? Yes, we will always have staff that's going to need us. We will always have some emergency or not emergency, but people think it's an emergency, and we have to make sure that we take care of ourselves. So that's what I kind of do. I kind of meditate and kind of stop everything and really just like ground myself in order for me to say like, okay, I'm okay and it's okay. Everything else it could wait. It's not an emergency, right? And to remember that, okay, I got to take care of myself, because if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of my grandbabies. I can't take care of everybody else that needs me.
Meditation. Meditation. I meditate twice every day, in the morning, especially for my road rage. So that helps me not to to rage in the morning. So I meditate on my way to work. 40-minute commute. I do it all the way, and then I always go for the 4 P's. I want a productive day, a positive day, a peaceful day, and a patient day. I'm 4 P's all week, and then also I am a huge believer in God, faith. I read the Bible every day, because for me, especially being a young leader, that people, right? We manage people, so unpredictable. Every day is different challenges, so I had to go and see how my God dealt with people, and to help me, gain those resourceful tools. And the thing I've got from it is just to practice what I preach, to be a good role model to my staff. And then also, I don't let criticism go to my heart, and I don't let compliments go to my head. And I think every single day I say that to myself, because, I mean, leadership, you can get criticized for numbers, right? And hit the status quo. And it's just like, okay, I have to separate that leadership is more practical when it comes to things like that. And then also, not let it go to my heart, but knowing that what I'm doing is rewarding and that it's impactful. And then it just keeps you going every day. But it's challenging and it's tiring. I probably should take more lunches. I'm one who don't eat lunch a lot, because I'm always helping, and I tell my team, I try to encourage them not to do what I do. So if I'm not having lunch, I kick them out the office. Go get lunch and bring me something back. But being intentional with things like that. But I would say just faith and great mentors, I would say as well. I see some mentors, I've called a few times out the week or throughout the months, mentorship. You got to know that you're not doing it by yourself. So me even hearing Kenyon or hearing Ms. Alder or hearing Paul, it's like, wow, we're all going through this together. Take a deep breath. It's okay.
So the short answer is not enough. Yeah, I'm in this like space where I'm just getting a new director, and so I've been doing 2 jobs for 6 months, and it's definitely cutting into my me time. But I like to tinker and do projects and that kind of thing, and a lot of those projects allow me to create spaces. And so this last weekend, I did a bathroom makeover. I know it sounds crazy, but like, what do you do to get away from work? I do other work, right? but honestly, it's very therapeutic for me. And then I get to be in that space and know that I made it a special space. So it keeps on giving it back to me. So I find a lot of joy in helping create new spaces. And I also keep a weekly appointment with my therapist. I mean, let's keep it real. I mean, those conversations are a priority for me. So
I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, well, I don't do anything, but I realize I do. When I'm texting amongst my closest friends, which is my sister and my good friend from college, I always say I'm a lady of leisure. I'm planning, I'm gardening, I'm hand crocheting big quilts and things like that. So I'm ebooks and audiobooks and things like that. So I've started to do that because I talk a lot during the day. I just rather hear other folks talking. I have a mental health private practice, and I'm listening to other folks then, but the therapist in me isn't seeing a therapist, and I know I need that, just to have that outlet. In my head, it's like it's a beach. I want to go to a beach. It's spring break next week, but I'm doing a staycation. So sometimes it's like we're still not really allowing ourselves to do what it is that we really want to do. So I think I need to push the button on doing some of the things that I really want to do rather than just really occupying my time. But in my head, it's like it's a beach, but it's not a beach. I'm only going to Lombard.
I buy a lot of shoes.
Me too. Me too.
And I told my bunch of friends, after Kenyon goes to Chicago, we both have a big group of friends and a little bit that depend on each other to have that conversation. And I think it's also important to make your staff. And I'm keen on my staff being absolutely happy that they feel good and they can go home when they need to. They can do other things because if they have that, then I have a little bit less stress on me. And I think when you have a good heart, you should give it to others. They say that life is about finding your purpose and the gift of giving it to others. And so I think that I'm stressed out a lot. I'm a person that has to pay my whole team every 2 weeks. And so even though we have good days, last week I ran through the whole week by myself. Like this meeting, that meeting, this meeting, that meeting, board meetings, everything. And then I was picking my kid up 9 o'clock at night and all that. And I said, you know what? It's time to introvert yourself and get your time that's quiet. It doesn't have nothing to do with work, nothing like anyone else, but just you and your baby, and you and your loved ones, and you and your friends. And I think that if you don't conversate about the things that you go through, that's why these conversations are good. Because you're sitting there thinking about, how are we going to do all this stuff if we have no money, right? Mm-hmm. When you get together with a bunch of people that have no money, it's
Same.
Yeah. But no, we have so many opportunities to ensure that we live a good life. I say, take the time to travel.
Yeah.
Take the time to, I'm sorry, I'm not on mic.
Oh.
I have a loud mouth.
Couldn't tell.
But take the time to travel. Take the time to do what you love. Take the time to be social. If you're not social, take the time to be quiet. Because in your job, if you're an introvert, you're speaking and you don't want to speak. And if you're an extrovert like me, they go too far with you. Like, I don't want to talk right now. I want to go home. And so you have to take the time to do what's necessary for you. Self-care was hard for me because I was a caregiver of my parents. And so it was hard. I had to learn it because everybody told me to take a long bath. I was like, that's not self-care for me. Like, take a bath, get a massage. I found that my self-care was literally listening to loud music, buying gym shoes I should not be buying that were way too expensive. I have to cut down my music as I go into the YJC lot because I don't want them hearing the type of stuff that goes on in that car. Okay? And so I am keen on having romance in my life and having family and everything that you're supposed to have when you become a professional. You can't forget about those things. So I had to learn them and intentionally do it. And I make my staff do it. I don't know how much PTO my team has because they're always on vacation, but I need to learn a little bit from them and go more places because I used to. Yeah, because I don't know. It's like they always got PTO. I'm like, you're going to France? What are you talking about? I went to Walmart. So so I do got to do a little bit better. But yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Not so much as a question, more so a comment. And first of all, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Nathan Norman. I'm the Senior Director of Workforce Development at Oakton College. I'm here with the Assistant Vice President, Dr. Ivory. But I wanted to say to these phenomenal leaders on the stage, and you as well, Cree, that is just, I'm really empowered to hear you all come speak today. We truly appreciate you all just sharing your experience and your expertise and your time with us all today. Cree, working with you, you've always been a phenomenal leader. You know, I admire that in you. And thank you so much for just pulling all of these individuals together. So I just wanted to comment on that and say thank you. And also know that you have support from us at Oakton as well. So thank you, Cree. Yes.
Sorry, I'll make it fast. Sharice Williams, Circle of Service Foundation. Quickly, those who have WIOA funding, I'm curious on with everything that's happening, has that funding been affected? And if it hasn't, have you heard anything that might affect WIOA funding? For anyone?
Well, currently right now, we have to look at funding that we currently have for this program year. So that funding has been set, right? We won't know until the next funding year what type of funding that will be. So far for this year, nothing has been cut, nothing will be cut. The funding that we have is the funding that we have. Now, have I heard of anything at the higher? Right now, it's just, we got to wait to what happens for the next year funding. If Cree has heard anything, I don't know, but at my level, I know we haven't heard absolutely anything at this time.
I'll say this. We're in a weird spot, but a good spot. The WIOA has not been reauthorized for years, and that's the weird spot. If it was reauthorized last year when they wanted to do it, with reauthorization means they look at it, make sure the rules are good, make sure it works, and how much they'll allocate and everything else. But it hasn't been reauthorized in like 10, 15 years or something. And so it's just been they keep giving us the money and giving us the money, and we send it out. What will happen is when reauthorization, there is a lot of new arrival DEI work that has been in that formula over the last few years of how you give out the money. So that's the weird spot that we're in. The good spot is that normally WIOA funding is bipartisan. So both sides agree on WIOA, and that's a good thing. So when you're looking at immigration, you're looking at link, and you're looking at those things, is usually partisan. One side says this, one side says that. The fortunate thing about WIOA is that it's normally bipartisan. Every time they reauthorize it, both sides agree because it services everyone in the U.S. How the formula will work will be different because we did reallocate money to help new arrivals and other people who were coming into the U.S. Are there any other questions? Well, I thank you guys so much for joining us. Of course, I'm going to do a shameless plug that our gala is April 24th. It will be at Moderator here in Chicago. It's a wonderful opportunity to get to know our organization better, have phenomenal young people that will be speaking their stories. So you'll hear a youth voice there. So it's on a Thursday. You don't have to spend your Saturday doing it. But I would love for you guys to come. Of course, we are comping our tickets for our guests here, our panelists. So they'll be there. So it would be great for you all to check YJC out. We're at youthjobcenter.org, and you can understand everything that we do. I do want to shout out my team. Our team is here to support us in this, and they do a phenomenal job helping our young people every day. Keep the good work up. Everything you do every day is worth it. So I want to thank you guys. We still have carbs in the back. I'm going to go get some. We would like for you guys to stay around just a second because I have a card and a gift card to give you. And then that's all for today. Thank you guys so much.